Here's what you really need to pay attention to, though, in this Georgia-Alabama game, and I'm telling you right now, this will be the deciding factor in the ball game. Plain and simple. Oh man, you know why I'm here. I know why you're here. We're back. And when I say we're back, I know some of you are probably sitting there saying, Matt, what in the crap are you talking about? And I'm referring to Alabama Crimson Tide. We're back to our second home away from home, and that's the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. And let me know in the comment section, but I think I speak for all my Alabama fans when I say this. It's good to be home. It is, man, it is. And I apologize for last year. We couldn't make it, so we had to send our replacement, LSU, and yeah, you saw how it went down. We had to send you our little cousin, and it wasn't pretty, but we all expected that to happen. And hey, gotta give some credit to LSU. They beat us last year. But this year, we're back to normal, and I think even if you're not a Georgia Alabama fan, you gotta be excited for this matchup. When Alabama and Georgia link up, it is always, in all time, an historic battle. And now that I think about it, Georgia fans probably aren't too excited about this because every single one of the close games between Georgia and Alabama has always went to Alabama's favor. For a minute there, I didn't think Kirby Smart was ever going to get over the hump of beating Alabama. It just seemed like every single year, Georgia had to win. They had the better team. They outplayed Bama, and somehow, someway, Alabama pulls out of the game with a win. The first time, we all know, the 2nd and 26, Tua. Alabama wins that one. Then, Alabama in the SEC Championship, Tua gets hurt, and what do you know? Jalen Hurts comes in and saves the day. And then after that, 2 years ago in 2021, everybody and their mama, similar to this year, a little foreshadowing, they're doubting Alabama in the SEC Championship. Alabama, also, similar like this year, escaped Jordan-Hare Stadium with a not-so-great a performance. And what happens? Bryce Young dices them up. And oh yeah, by the way, one of my greatest predictions ever on the channel, I called that upset. And not only did I call it upset, but I predicted Alabama to beat Georgia and Stetson DoorDash Bennett by double digits. That is one prediction on the channel I will never forget because I remember all the backlash I received when calling it. I'll never forget it. I made that prediction video on a Thursday night, and by Friday morning, everybody was like, man, this guy's losing all credibility. What is he talking about? He's saying Alabama's going to destroy Georgia in the SEC Championship. Alabama barely beat Auburn last week. Even though Alabama has gotten the better of Georgia, I'm also going to remind you that the last time they played, Georgia won convincingly. And that was in the 2021 National Championship. And hey, I want to say this right now. Hold on. Can we get some respect? Clap it up to Dog Nation and all the Georgia fan base, players, etc. Congratulations on all the success. I'm proud of y'all, and I'm happy for y'all. Georgia's won, what is it? I believe, if I'm not mistaken, is it at 29 or 30? I'm pretty sure it's at 29 in a row. We are witnessing a live time another historic run, but not with Alabama, with Georgia. Back-to-back national champions, and it looks like they got a great shot of three-peating. Before we do get into this preview and prediction, I do want to say much respect to the Georgia fan base, and I've greatly appreciated Dog Nation all throughout the past couple of years on this channel. I really enjoy them. For some odd reason, people always say Georgia's got a terrible fan base and they give them a hard time, this and that. Maybe that's your experience with them, but my experience on this channel, it's been great. It's been awesome, so I do appreciate y'all. Yes, I am an Alabama fan, but before I'm an Alabama fan, number one, I'm a college football fan, and number two, I'm an SEC fan. I am one of those people who wants the SEC to do good. When it comes to bowl season, I want the SEC, even Auburn, even Tennessee, all these teams that Alabama's rivals with, to win their bowl games. I think it makes the conference look better. I'm just an SEC guy. I like seeing the conference as an entirely do good because, well, I'm a part of it. I'm a fan of a team in it. So if Alabama does not win the national championship this year, by default, I will be a Georgia Bulldog fan. Getting that out the way, though, sorry for the long intro, but I did want to say that it is on my mind. You can't just go into this game without talking about the history. At least I can't. I haven't even thought about this game too much leading up into this video, and I haven't checked the line. I know I've seen some people on Twitter say that Georgia's a mega favorite in Alabama, yet again is the biggest underdog since I think the 2021 championship, but let's just check the line out. I'd assume it's probably at like 5 points. Okay, got to pull it up right here. As to when I'm seeing this and looking at it, Alabama is a 5.5 point underdog, Georgia minus 5.5. I don't have a problem with that whatsoever. I think that's about where it should be. If I was doing these lines for the game, I would say, yeah, Georgia around 5 to, I'd go up to 7 points. Make no mistakes about it, Alabama, you can't count them out. They got Nick Saban, the greatest head coach of all time. They got a Heisman contending quarterback in Jalen Milroe. But they're definitely the underdog in this game. Because up until this point in the season, it's not even debatable. Georgia has looked way better than Alabama. Granted, Alabama, not a hotter team in the country, they've turned it on since that Texas game. And what I'm about to say next may shock some of y'all because you got a lot of people struggling with, man, I just don't know how to preview and predict this game. But to me, This is always one of, if not the easiest games to preview and predict. And I know what you're sitting there saying, Matt, easiest game to predict? What are you talking about, man? And hold on. Just let me explain myself. Hear me out. This game's so easy to predict, at least in my humble opinion, because I know exactly what I'm going to get out of Georgia, and same thing for Alabama. There's no question marks or wild cards. Alabama and Georgia have similar play styles. Number one, I know what to expect out of these teams, and number two, if you watch Georgia football and you don't keep up with Alabama too much, well, just imagine a carbon copy paste. That's Alabama and vice versa for Georgia if you're an Alabama fan. Alabama and Georgia on defense especially have the same philosophies. The only thing that has helped Alabama out in the recent matchups is they've always had the better offense. But this year, a little different story. We'll get to that in just a second. And I've stated this numerous times. The only thing that held back Kirby Smart before he won his first 2 national championships was offense and not having a great quarterback or even a good quarterback. That's the only thing that held him back. It was never defense. The defense was always elite. Here's what you really need to pay attention to, though, in this Georgia-Alabama game. And I'm telling you right now, this will be the deciding factor in the ball game. Plain and simple. And if you want to label this as the X factor, you could, but normally I label the X factor as one certain player, but I don't even think we have that in this ball game. Because like I said, Jalen Milroe no longer X factor. We know we're going to get great play out of him, and same thing for Carson Beck. I love me some Carson Beck. That dude can play. He's underrated. To me, at least, what you need to pay attention to in this will decide the ball game is that Georgia defense and the Alabama defense. I think Georgia's offense is a top 10 offense in the country, and I think Alabama's is right up there as well. I think you got 2 top 10 offenses going at it on Saturday. But where one team's going to be able to, I guess you shall say, pull away in this game is if they can get a couple of stops or multiple stops back to back to back. Because when I was watching some film on both these teams and gathering some information, I asked myself this question. Do I think Georgia's defense can completely shut down Jalen Milroe and stop Alabama? No, I don't. I think Alabama and Milroe, because remember, they're only going to go as far as Milroe can take them, they're going to get theirs. I have a hard time believing that this Georgia defense just shuts down Milroe to only 13 or 20 points. No way. Vice versa, on the flip side, I asked myself the same question. Do I believe this Alabama defense can shut down the Georgia offense? And the answer to that was no. But what's really intriguing about this is I do potentially see a scenario where Alabama's defense can string along a couple of stops, and same thing for Georgia. I can't wait to see how Carson Beck looks against this Alabama defense, and same thing for the Georgia defense against Jalen Milroe. I want to see their game plan. Because to be honest, I thought Auburn had a pretty good game plan, and Alabama still scored 27 points in Jordan-Hare Stadium. And if you know anything about Auburn and Jordan-Hare Stadium, heck, Georgia fans, you know this. That's not an easy place to win at. And I'm not even going to beat around the bush and break down every single player in every single matchup because they're so similar to me, Georgia and Alabama. They're 1A, 1B. And if you haven't seen my recent rankings, I currently have Georgia and Alabama both in my top 4. I think Georgia and Alabama are top 4 teams. Make no mistakes about it. This is the real and legit national championship, and we know this. And all year long, I told myself, if Alabama gets to the championship and they play Georgia, I'm picking Georgia. It wasn't even a question. I remember thinking about this in week 5, week 6, and week 7. I was like, yep, I'm picking Georgia to beat Alabama if Alabama can somehow make it. But, and I have a really big but, I have a weird gut feeling about this game ever since the Iron Bowl. You almost had to get the sense and vibe that Alabama's riding on the highest of highs right now, and they're going to carry that momentum over into this game. It seems like currently Alabama's playing with house money. They won a game in Jordan-Hare Stadium, in which they shouldn't have. At this point, it's like, hey, well, we got to lose, you know? We're an 8 seed. We're playing the 1 seed. Even if we potentially win, we might not get in. So there's nothing to lose. We're letting our nuts hang. I think Alabama, somehow, somewhere in their back pocket, they're going to carry over some of that magic that was left over in Jordan-Hare Stadium, and they go into Mercedes-Benz Stadium, and they upset the Georgia Bulldogs. I think a couple of crazy plays are going to go Alabama's way. Maybe it's a scoop and score. Maybe it's a pick 6. Maybe it's a kick return, punt return. I don't know. But something's going to go Alabama's way. I got that feeling. These are 2 outstanding teams, and I think the margin of error is so thin. I get Alabama winning this game 31-28. Will Riker, the kicker for Alabama, he redeems himself, and he hits the game-winning field goal. Alabama wins on 4th and a mile. But this time on 4th and a mile, it's the field goal edition. And I want to make this astronomically clear. This was not an easy decision to come to, and just even the thought of me saying Georgia's going to lose a game, it doesn't sit right with me. But at the end of the day, I just think it's 2 great teams, and if you got Georgia winning, I understand that as well. But ever since that Iron Bowl, man, there's something in my gut. There's something telling me we got some magic left. Regardless of what happens, I can tell you this much. It is going to be a heck of a ball game. I'm excited. Let me know your thoughts down below. But